Hey everyone, it's Tim here for another update video. I hope you're doing well and that by God's grace you're enjoying your week and enjoying the good works that He's called us to by the power of the Holy Spirit working in each of us. I want to let you know about some announcements about our church, but first, just some thoughts out of kind of a cool connection between Genesis and the Gospel of John. You may be familiar. In fact, if you've been with us in recent months, as Greg's been preaching through Genesis, we've seen this narrative. You may recall in chapter 16, Hagar, the Egyptian slave woman who Abraham's wife Sarah suggested that Abraham kind of use Hagar as the one to produce a child as kind of the human workaround instead of trusting God to fulfill His own promises for descendants. Hagar became pregnant and then was persecuted by Abram's wife Sarah. So Hagar in chapter 16 of Genesis runs off and flees Sarah. And then a really interesting thing happens starting in verse 7. The angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, the spring on the way to Shur. And so he starts engaging with Hagar and saying, "Why are you running away?" And she explains what's happening. And the angel of the Lord said to her, "Return to your mistress and submit to her." This is the angel of the Lord also said to her, "I will surely multiply your offspring so that they cannot be numbered for multitude." And he goes on and talks about her descendants that he's promising her. And when he's done, the narrative says, "So she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her." And that is the Lord Yahweh, the personal covenant name of God. She called the name of Yahweh who spoke to her. "You are a God of seeing." You are a God of seeing. The God who sees is the name she gives to the Lord. But the narrative says the one who spoke to her is the angel of the Lord. And he speaks to her like he's God. He says, "I will multiply your offspring." And you see this in several narratives in the Old Testament that there is this figure called not just any angel. There are other angels who are spirit beings, we understand, created by God to serve His purposes, and often as messengers. That's even what the word angel means. But there is this figure who appears in several of these narratives called the angel of the Lord, who both speaks for God, as though God is another person, but also speaks as God. And the narrative talks about him as though he's God. And this has long been recognized by Christian readers as kind of a pre-incarnate appearance of the eternal Son of God. Of course, meaning before the eternal Son became incarnate, took on flesh in the incarnation and was incarnated as the man Jesus Christ. There are times that it seems very clear that he appeared in the history of God's redeeming work among His people as this figure, the angel of the Lord. But what's amazing is that they're by this spring of water, this woman who really has kind of, I guess we could say, has been not seen from a human standpoint. She's been overlooked. Her cause has been really, justice has been miscarried for her, and she's been overlooked in terms of her rights. And the Lord, by the means of this person, the angel, draws near to her and assures her and tells her, "Yeah, go back to Sarah. I will be your protector," essentially. And she celebrates this moment by calling him the Lord who sees. The way that no man, no person was really seeing her and her plight, which is amazing. But what's also cool is what you see in the Gospel of John in chapter 4, because there's another encounter that Jesus, of course, this is Jesus in the flesh, has with a woman in Samaria. And this occurs by a well. So remember, there was a spring of water where Hagar encountered the angel of the Lord. Here we have a Samaritan woman by a well. Jesus encounters her, and I can't walk through the whole narrative. It's an amazing story in John 4. But a couple things. One is when Jesus starts engaging this woman to talk to her, she and John the narrator explain, like, this is not done. In verse 7, Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." And then in verse 9, the Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria?" And then John explains, "For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans." And we go on. So first of all, he's Jewish. She's Samaritan. They didn't like each other. Also, he's a man. They would probably not typically be men that would be engaging with, one-on-one with a woman like this. And as we come to find out as the narrative progresses, she's a woman with a very questionable past. She's kind of has this tainted past with regard to apparently sexual sin. And so there's just all these reasons why, from a human standpoint, he would not even think to have a conversation with her. The disciples, when they come back, because they were off buying food, verse 27, they marveled that he was talking with a woman, but no one said, "What do you seek?" or "Why are you talking with her?" So nobody just asks him, like, what is your intent and reasoning, Jesus, in doing this? But they're just amazed that this conversation is happening. And they don't even know this woman's past, that Jesus clearly shows that he knows. But what he shows in this narrative in engaging this woman is that here he is again, the God who sees. He has seen this woman who approached the well to get water. It would have been so easy for him to just ignore her and let her go her way. And, he was waiting for his disciples to bring food so they could continue the journey. But he intentionally engaged her, and he intentionally provoked her to start a conversation in which really her need of the living water that he provides in his salvation would be exposed. The fact that she's been pursuing broken cisterns. She's been trying to be satisfied through other means besides God, and it has left her deeply unsatisfied. And Christ is really presenting himself as the satisfier of her soul, and the alternative to sin, which is what she's been using to satisfy her soul. So an amazing picture, again, of the God who sees. And so, maybe some of us may feel unseen. We may feel that we're mistreated. We may truly be mistreated by others, and it may seem like there's nobody in the world who understands what we're going through, who understands our experience. Let this be an encouragement to you that God, and especially in the person of his son, Jesus Christ, is actively seeing the unseen and is actively pursuing and extending salvation to those that maybe no other person is seeing. Also, just as an exhortation for us in our ministry to others, both in the local church, other kind of acts of ministry, mercy, evangelism, just to have those eyes. Who are the people that we just aren't seeing? There are just people that kind of maybe we coast past each other, and there's just, they don't even register on our radar. Just to be thinking, who are the unseen people that, as those that Christ is called to extend his mission by the power of the Spirit that he's given, shared of himself, who are the people that God could be using us to see and be extending his grace and mercy to them. So I hope that's both an assurance for us and a helpful exhortation. Moving on to things going on in the life of our church. Sunday, we have equipping hour at 9:00. We're continuing on our Sermon on the Mount series, which I've been really encouraged and been really encouraged not only to do that study, but the engagement with folks who have come. It's been a really rich time. Corporate worship at 10:30. Greg is back into the pulpit. And then 5:00 p.m., we have our community groups at various homes, and you'll find info about that in the newsletter email. There are a number of other things, as always, going on throughout the week in our church life, prayer meeting, youth, things of that nature. So check the church newsletter for that. And then just a reminder to be praying for each other. We've mentioned this a lot, but just being on that RCG prayer email group, we get things come through. We've gotten something about Chris Fowler, gotten some updates from Joanne Davis and Irina Falenko, just to name a few. I know there's others that have come through, but just some folks who've brought requests to pray for, and just to avail ourselves of sharing requests through that means as well. It's I hear a lot of people in our church mentioning just how they appreciate that folks use that tool. They appreciate getting those in their inbox and being able to even just stop what they're doing and pray. So just don't forget that, and don't forget to be lifting up one another in prayer. So with that, I'll say goodbye and God's blessings to you, and I look forward to seeing you Sunday. All right, bye-bye.